And for those who are joining us virtually and, of course, live here, this meeting is recorded live. Second item on the agenda tonight is to approve Thursday, May 1st meeting minutes. Any comments or
Move to approve.
move to approve?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor with approving May 1st minutes, can I get your eye or hand if you can?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Part B of agenda, agenda item 2 is to, of course, request to approve the agenda for tonight, June 5th. Has everyone had a chance to peruse and look over the agenda for tonight? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes of the agenda.
We have a second. All those in favor of approving June 5th, tonight's meeting? Aye. Put your hand.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Again, wanted to say thank you for everyone who has joined us virtually and here in person. We have members of the public and those who serve the public as well, which are still members. So thank you, everyone. The next action item on the agenda for tonight is the staff report. So at this time, we will get over to Administrative Director Forrest Gilman Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Byers, if you could please give us the monthly complaint report.
Yes, thank you. This is the monthly complaint report for May 2025. We've received 3 complaints through the portal. 2 were defined as eligible by Montgomery County Department of Police and are currently under investigation. 1 was defined as eligible by the Gaithersburg Police Department and is currently under investigation. Excuse me, sorry. We received 16 complaints through other methods. 1 was defined as eligible by the Montgomery National Capital Park Police. It is currently under investigation and are within state ACC jurisdiction. Therefore, no additional information can be reviewed at a local level. 3 was defined as eligible by the Tacoma Park Police Department and are currently under investigation. 12 complaints were submitted by Montgomery County Department of Police and they are currently under investigation. Mr. Gilman Riley?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. In the course of the last month, the Administrative Charging Committee in its last sessions authorized the release of the data for disciplinary outcomes reviewed by the committee from Q1 of 2025 and on an ongoing basis. Those will automatically become available at the beginning of each new quarter. The most recent release of data contains the alleged policy violations and decisions for 27 cases comprising 73 allegations and 10 disciplinary recommendations where the committee elected to charge an officer with an instance of misconduct. The committee took that up as an issue separate from the full text written opinions, and they await your correspondence on that subject. In addition, we received requests for information about restraint policies and police-involved deaths relating to the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's audit of cases from 2003 to 2019. The information about that report, as well as in-custody death data for the years after that, from 2019 through 2023, has been made available to the committee by email. Those are also publicly available sources, and under the Death and Custody Reporting Act and Section 3507 of the Public Safety Article, Maryland collects and reports on in-custody deaths and deaths in the line of duty. And it's also subject of an annual report by the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention each June. So 2024 is not available yet. It is likely to be available sometime in the next month or two. As far as the current restraint policies, several of those were already in the system. Links to each were sent to the committee and to the board. Those that were not already in the system have been added, as well as information about which departments, in the context of their restraint or force policies, currently have a definition of excited delirium included. Excited delirium was one of the key subjects in the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's audit of its in-custody death review. That it is a non-medical and non-scientific theory that was put forth that at this point does not have the support of the medical community. The OCME report evaluated 87 deaths from a statewide pool of 1,313 and determined that where it had previously found that they were undetermined, accidental, or natural, the reviewers deemed 36 of those deaths were actually homicides. That's an OCME determination of homicide, meaning that the death was caused, by the actions of another person. OCME does not assign criminal or civil liability. 14 of those cases were from Montgomery County, and 5 of those were reclassified as homicides by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. June is Pride Month, and Montgomery County is celebrating Pride, raising the flag earlier this week on Tuesday. Pride is historically inseparable from the mission of police accountability and police responsibility. They are long intertwined, going back to the Stonewall uprisings against systematic police violence by the New York Police Department against the LGBT community in that city. We received final determinations on our budget. The county had taken up 2 tranches of $50,000 as potential cuts. It has removed a total of $100,000 from our special counsel budget. So the program has for fiscal year 26, $150,000. For fiscal year 25, we had $250,000. County Executive Eldridge is seeking applicants to fill 3 public civilian vacancies on the Police Accountability Board and Administrative Charging Committee. All 4 incumbent members, the 3 from the Police Accountability Board and the 1 from the Administrative Charging Committee, are eligible for reappointment. The county requires that these be posted as vacancies and that people give an opportunity to apply. All applications, both for incumbents and anyone applying, are due by June 18th, 2025. All incumbents have been provided with links to access that system, and otherwise that can be accessed by searching the boards, committees, and commissions page for Montgomery County. Oh, and I forgot to mention regarding Montgomery County Pride, for those interested in seeing a list of events associated with the county, they can look to Councilmember Evan Glass's page in the County Council website. It provides a list of events supported or engaged with by Montgomery County. That concludes the staff report.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Laura?
No.
All right. Thank you. Let's move on to action item number 4. I know those of us who are board members who are virtual. Action item 4 is entitled Chair's Comment on the Independent Audit of Restraint-Related Death Investigations at Maryland's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, OCME from the years that we just heard the uh, administrative director speak on from 2003 to 2019. We know that right now, this on the MCPD side is still an open investigation. So there's not much we would be able to get as far as information because it's open investigation and they just won't talk about it. And there are, it was and is before our purview, but we're here now. So just for public interest and action, I think we should consider, if we're doing the Alpine, maybe to ask MCPD what's in their policy, or if it exists in their policy, the excited delirium. And what does that say if it's in their policy? And if it is, then we can take maybe a next step from there and go, hey, we would like to recommend, maybe the removal of excited delirium within your policy. And I think that's a good start for us if we're going to Alpine on this type of audit in reference to restraint deaths and investigations. Because I'm not sure, I can't be confident whether it is in their policy. And I think it's best first for us to send a letter of request from the office of our director to see if it is and ask what that is. And we get that, we look over it, and it's something we can respond to quickly once we get it. Just look over it and understand what it is. If we have any questions after what we read, we follow up with that and then make a recommendation on it. Because as we hear, and I'm sure you all had a chance to read, there is no medical scientific paper supporting, excited delirium. There's no medical, there's nothing out there. And I know you all have read that and come up with the same conclusion. So if it isn't nothing medical, there's no medical science, no medical support. And if we find that it is within the policy of the MCPD, we would like to make a recommendation. And this is all hypothetics because we don't know if it is. So let's just find out that. I'm sorry, please.
So at least as of the current version of the force policy, excited delirium does appear in function code 131, response and resistance to use of force.
Code 131?
Yes, at section 2F.
That's as of July of 2022. Is that what you're looking at?
Correct. Montgomery County Sheriff's Office has a reference to it in General Operational Procedure 3, use of force. The Rockville City Police Department has a reference to it in General Order 4-01, response to resistance and aggression. And for Tacoma Park Police Department in General Order 617, use of force at 4G1A.
So let me ask this. I mean, it seems like we were able to pull this up. So would it be prudent on our side to at least still send a request that says something like, can you cite those codes? So we're hearing it from them. Can you cite the codes and confirmation to what we just found? So we can at least hear it and get it from them. And then once we have their response to the codes that we just found and they're confirming it, and then we follow it up with, if we work on it and decide after we make a motion that we would like to recommend, since there's no medical support to this, we would like to, which is part of our mandate, to make a recommendation that that type of statement or code be removed from policy. I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with asking for a confirmatory note. I mean, I can see where this information is located, publicly, as our director pointed out as well. What I would perhaps ask is, in that same breath, whether there are any procedural changes that we could expect, given the recent report, the recent audit. And that way, I think we can understand whether that's something being already proactively addressed by MCPD or whether there's more that we can do to assist in that direction.
I want to hear Chuck, and then we can go back to you, Forrest. Chuck, you were about to say something as well.
Part of it was covered. If we have these sightings, we know where we can find these codes. I haven't read them yet, but are the codes designed to show how one would manage, how one would identify, and how an officer would manage something of that sort? Or what are we looking at?
That's a question. I mean, that's a question. It's good. Forrest, and then I have Member Hudson. I see you. Forrest?
So I think, like any prescriptive or descriptive rule, it will be left up to the board, members of the board how they would want to read it. And to the extent that someone is learning how to respond to something described as excited delirium, whether or not there are any questions about that, given the medical consensus on the existence of excited delirium. Regarding feedback, obviously it's well within, you said, the board's purview to provide feedback and recommendations on policy changes. For the public welfare, would note that currently the Montgomery County Department of Police is revising Function Code 131, Response to Resistance and Use of Force, and is accepting public comment through June 30th of this month.
That's a good note. We can encourage the public to begin to make comments in reference to that Code 131 use of force, excited delirium, and the board can take the path or direction of path to address briefly the medical. I don't know if unsupport, non-support in reference to excited delirium, and then hearing from the municipalities, if others are following suit where they're making some changes in the code, we want to hear from them. That's the first thing. And then, and as Ford said, it's at this point the interpretation of the PAB, the board, of what we read on what they say and what we would like to recommend. I don't want to forget Board Member Hudson. I said you were next.
All right, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think that you've raised some very good points, some very important points. I totally concur with what you've stated and with what George has mentioned. And I think it's important too, as Chuck stated, we would like to understand exactly how an officer or what is their understanding of excited delirium? What is their understanding of it? And what is the medical examiner's like you stated, what is the medical basis for this finding? These are things that I think the public is entitled to know, and we certainly would like to know. So.
Thank you, Lucia. Did I miss any other board member who's online? I don't want to miss you. Chris, I see you on. Welcome. Did I miss you? Did you have a statement?
No, I did not. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think, did we lose Mr. Wright?
No, I'm here. I'm here, Chair Walker. I did have a question. So, if I'm not mistaken, this discussion is pursuant to the audit of the examiner's office. Is that right?
Affirmative.
Okay. And so, I read some of it, and I did not retain, what if any of those cases that were determined to be wrongfully classified would have been under the purview of the PAB. And if so, would it mean that the PAB's duty would be then to relate those findings back to any of the complaints, if any, regarding those misclassified deaths? And if so, would there be some necessary misconduct investigation regarding those? So again, I don't remember whether or not those cases would have been under
Well,
post tab creation, but
right. The short answer is they are not.
okay.
That's the short answer. They are not. Yet the PAB understands that now that this has become a public issue, we're now talking about from the policy perspective is where the PAB
Right.
now is taking its stance to recommend or to research the policy, because right now we don't have enough to go into some type of analysis search to find trends and things like that right now. And I think that's too much and big of too big of a bite of the apple without having that right now. So, but the first start is we want to find policy. Are the other municipalities, what are their views? Chuck came up with a better question, as well as George. How are they responding, reacting, or handling excited delirium? That's where we want to go. That's where we want to be. Get that, hear that. And we, as we said, we just found out MCPD is currently editing
Changing.
that their idea of code 131 and all of that, which is good. But we need to know by asking. If you don't ask, you don't know. That's the first one. So
I would also add, would there be a need for us to inquire within the state's attorney's office, wherein they conducted the investigation, to see what, if any, policy changes they're recommending that coincide with the amendments that Forrest talked about, or potential thereof?
I don't think the board, we would object to that type of inquiry. I mean, we ask the state's attorney, we can ask. I mean, we can put that, right? If you want to know, you ask. You don't ask. So I think that's a good ask. Is any other, I mean,
I agree.
members, it's a good ask. But I think we can move on this rather quickly. I think it's prudent and wise to kind of move on this quickly and form a letter that says what we are recommending based on the questions and the readings that come to us, where we fall at based on that information that comes back to our inquiry. Because right now we don't know how we and what until we get the answers to those questions.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move on from there, but just make sure I didn't miss any other member. I did not. Awesome. So we good on that? I'm sorry, Chuck.
No, before you move on, on that OCME report, I've started going through it, I have not completed. But I don't know if anyone has, were there any other issues based on, I'm reading some of the narratives. Were there any other issues that we looked at to say, maybe this is something that needs to be brought up for questioning? I mean, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of this happened in the past. I don't know if there's any way we can go back and say, okay, let's grab this person, and set some corrective measures. But if we look at it and say, well, if this is something that happened then, what's in place now to ensure that that particular instance doesn't happen going forward into the future?
Right, and I think that's what we were just discussing, which is great, and I'm glad and I guess before we move on, we do want to at least make an after action point from this conversation. What is it do we need to completely finish reading that investigative report, or and from there be able to formalize open-ended questions to the municipalities, get their responses, put that together with what the medical science is saying, along with the answers to our questions from the municipalities, and of course, what was in the report, and from there, make a recommendation in reference to existing policies and in reference to use of force and excited delirium, and like code 3131, and I think there was another code mentioned from Tacoma Park and Rockville as well, in reference to it. So
One point I would make, and I think that's a good course of action to take. You know, reading through the report, making sure that all the board members have an understanding of what the report, contains, and whether there are questions that we would want to direct to our law enforcement partners. One thing that I would perhaps try to clarify is that it's not the role of PAB, in my understanding, to go back to specific cases.
right. Thank you.
So I just want to make that clear because, I'll talk about this a little later. There's still, I think, an important role for us to communicate to the broader public, but also our law enforcement partners about what is the mission of the PAB and how is that distinct from, for example, the mission of the ACC and their tasks. So just in terms of the context, I think we would want to be forward-looking and, again, focusing on policy recommendations and changes to be made, from here on out.
I concur, and thank you for clarifying that. I think that it's the best way. And going down the rabbit hole of yesterday probably wouldn't be, I don't think so. We're good. Good thing. So I don't want to re-comment on that. You made it clear, made a statement. I agree. I think most of the board agrees with that. Vice Chair?
Yep, certainly.
All right. So today is the 5th. I know we're in vacation times and summer getaway times and cookouts. So I think if we all take a bite out of each section of this report and do our share drive, responses, posting things on that, maybe we can come up with how many questions it would be based on what we all have read that would go out to all of the municipalities and wait till their responses. Then we'll move from there after we gather all of that. Is that a good idea? So what do we say? Let's try to put something together by what's a good chance so we can have a deadline. What's a good part of the week? So, and again, this is our next meeting is when is our next meeting?
17th.
The 17th.
Of July.
Okay, so we have a little time, but I really would like to get this out by the end of June. I think we can do that because it's really not much there, right? So here we are at the 5th. Can we probably have as much as we could have and prepare to get something, have everything collected by the 20th COB of June and being prepared to be out that following week? Say by the 27th of June, is that?
You're mentioning the questions?
Yeah.
Questions to be addressed?
Yeah. Is everybody on board with that? If I got Alicia shaking her head, yes, I'm in good position. I'm good. I got her, so. Right? We good with that? After that? All right. Thank you. Next point, agenda item, next action item on the agenda. We do have time for public comments. Again, public comments, we ask that you, if we have to pull you in because you may be going on a little too long, please don't take it personally because we have a lot on the agenda tonight. We have guests here tonight who are on the agenda to make a presentation, and we really want them, after working all day, to have a chance to present to us tonight. So usually we like to start with 90 seconds for our members of the public. Sometimes it goes over a little over, and that's okay. But we want you to remember that this is not a aggressively time to argue a case or rant out personal issues. So please be careful of that. And if we are not able or may not have the time to answer any specific questions, we are recording and we will be able to at least listen to that recording to find your specific questions so we can answer them. And most of the answers will be something that will be placed on the PAB's website for you to review if we can't answer those questions tonight. So the floor is open to the members of the public, both those who are here live with us and those who are online.
Members of the public are not able to unmute themselves on their end as a security precaution.
Yes.
But you should be able to raise your hand or offer another emote to tell us if you wish to speak. Any guests in the room, if you would like to address the board as well, you can have time to do so.
And let me apologize for the or inaccurate information for saying that you can talk. I forgot, for security reasons, the system has been set up where you can't unmute yourself. I apologize for that misinformation, but that is accurate, and trust me, it's for all of our original ears safety, because we've been hacked before. So thank you for understanding. Now, may I ask a question, Laura? Are they able to put something in the chat that we can read? No. Okay. Thank you for that safety as well. But as far as said, there are other ways you can. But please, the floor is open to members of the public. No? All right. Thank you. I guess that's it from there. Thank you for that. Next action item is the update from the PAB attendants from the Rockville City Police Department Supervisors Staff Meeting. And I believe that is Mr. Luperes and who else?
Yeah, Mr. Board Member McRae was also in attendance.
But he's out of the
He's he's
Otherwise-
indisposed,
All right,
but
disposed.
I'll take the torch. First, I'd like to thank Chief West for the Rockville City Police Department for facilitating that meeting with leadership of the department. Greg and I both went into the meeting to provide some more information about what the PAB's mission is, what is it that, what questions they may have, whether or not they thought there was something that we as a PAB could assist with in their mission. And so overall, it was a great meeting. We met bright and early at 7 a.m. Again, Chief West was very welcoming and met us outside, bring us in. We met with the leadership of the department, and I think just in terms of takeaways, you know, we got a chance to introduce ourselves to the leadership team, you know, our backgrounds, what we do as a board, and I think that there's more of that we need to do. There's certainly, you know, some understanding of the PAB, but whether that is, you know, about PAB's exact mission, what is in our purview, you know, there's still, I think, a little bit of that conflation with the ACC and what the ACC does versus the PAB, and I think it's important for us. And what we heard in that meeting is that everyone wants more information, wants to know more about what we do, what the ACC does, how the process works, you know, how complaints get routed through, and what's our role within that operation, that process. You know, we talked a little bit about as well some of the trends that we've seen broadly, but also for Rockville Police Department, some of the work that we've done with regards to, you know, what complaints are coming in. We've seen, just as a recap, a lot of courtesy, and for the Rockville City Police Department, courtesy and human relations, I think is the code for some of those complaints. And we had a little bit of a discussion about, you know, what the police department could do to, you know, communicate with the public, or we can help with to communicate with the public about what should be or is expected to be a courteous encounter with a police officer. You know, these can also be very subjective instances in which, you know, a police officer is with an encounter with a community member. So again, yeah, I think it was a very productive conversation. I think my takeaway is that we need to continue to do that. And I would hope that we can do so not only, with the groups of, civil society that we have coming, but also more meetings as well like this with our other law enforcement agency partners.
Wow. Okay. Now, in that meeting, you were able to, I'm sure they asked those questions and you were able to,
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, again, I think, there was certainly, we had to warm up. It's a little early, but there was certainly some interest in, again, understanding a little bit better what the PAB does exactly as it relates to complaints and processing complaints, and we had the discussion about how, again, for the benefit of the public listening in as well, the PAB's main focus is in understanding trends broadly and making conclusions out of those trends to affect policy changes in policing, versus the ACC, which adjudicates cases of complaints, those complaints themselves, for disciplinary outcomes. So, we work together in that sense to be able to see from the back end of what the ACC produces, what is the outcome of that complaint, and incorporate that into the thought process, the decision of what trends are looking like, what policy considerations we should take. And again, I think from the police department, from Rockville, the leadership at the Rockville City Police Department, they were interested in understanding that a little bit better. And I think appreciated the fact that we had gone in again with Chief West as our sponsor to be able to lay that out and have that open conversation.
outstanding,
Good show.
outstanding. Any other questions on that? Anybody want to? Well, Manning, thank you for joining us tonight. Always good to see you.
Good to see you, and I'm really grateful that you all got up early and attended that, and thank you for the report out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. All right, thank you. There's nothing else. I think that was a good, productive meeting. It's meeting like those and roll call and supervisory staff meetings like those. It's real good for us as a board to be present in and to be able to clearly articulate what our mandate and our efforts are. Because I think as we continue to move forward, we will continue to dampen the misconstrued and inaccurate, ideas or thoughts about who we are as a board. And I think that's important because, there's a writing that says, with everything that you get an understanding. So we want to make sure that we understand that. So thank you so much for, again, getting up that early. And I'm sure you had the rest of your day, so thank you for that. All right. The next action item is tonight. We have a guest speaker. He is a husband. He's a father. Father of 5, actually. And he's to me, he's a young man. I'm not gonna tell his age, but he's young. He's young to be my son, but he's young and been in law enforcement for 10 years. He is a 2025 Service Award winner here in Montgomery County for his service to the community that he serves and patrols. Only 70 of the people since 1980 something has received this service award. That was, of course, the Chamber of Commerce and the county partnership and getting this award. His name is PO3, Officer PO3 Hassan Custis. So at this time, he's here because he is very, very instrumental and active in the MCPD community engagement. And I'll let him tell you more personally what led him and how he does this so marvelously. But at this time, Officer Hassan Custis.
Sir, thank you. Is it okay if I stand up?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. All right, so I won't be too long. I'm Officer Custis, and it's okay. You can see my age. I'm 31. So I've been on Montgomery County for 8 years. I started out born and raised in New York City. I was a sheriff out there, a park ranger when I was in college, and backtracking from that, the reason I actually became the police is because of my SRO. For my community, we didn't have a relationship with police, and if we did, it wasn't good. You know, as a young kid, you're never told why. It's just, you know, it's us versus them, and you know, you would be lucky, you know, to get an officer to come out of his car. You know what I mean? Where I'm from. So as I get older, you know, that starts becoming more of a common thing. I'm told, you know, they don't like you, you don't like them. It is what it is. So fast forward a little bit, I hit about 12 years old. I get introduced to the Police Athletic League, the PAB. In New York, the PAL was a building. It was a big building, looks like kind of like a school. Upstairs, you had offices like this, where your SROs basically had their office, right? Downstairs was a gym, a boxing ring, indoor track, basketball court, recreation room, you name it, is there, right? So not only was the safety component a thing, a lot of my friends, you know, hanging outside, you know, it's a real life thing, you know, parks get shot up, things like that. Like that was my day to day. So finding safety in the PAL, you know, kind of introduced me to a different side of law enforcement. And, you know, there was times I stayed there, like, you know, to eat, you know what I mean? My mom, single mom, you know, welfare recipient. So I grew up, you know, government assistant. So there was times where, you know, I didn't have food to eat. You know what I mean? So I would stay at the PAL because I knew it was safe. I knew it was food, and my SRO was there, and I knew he cared. My dad wasn't around. So it was really one of those things where I kind of, you know, leaned towards my SRO for guidance. You know, and I had a kid young. I had a scholarship to play football. At the same time, I got news that I'm gonna be a father. So I had to pick and choose my battle. And I chose being the dad, so I had to, you know, give my sports stuff up. I don't regret it. It led me here. So now that I'm here, I worked as a detective in our special investigations division for 3 years. I worked patrol for 4 years, and I've been actually patrol for 5 years. And then now I'm here as an SRO, community engagement officer, CEO, for 1 year. I just came up on 1 year. When I got in, the first thing I said was, I'm going to pay this forward. My experience with the PAL program, I'm going to pay it forward. I still talk to my SRO to this day. You know, it's a nice Italian dude, slick back hair, has like the Jersey Shore accent. Like you can't miss him. You know, he stands out. But I definitely learned a lot from him. And he led by example, and he wasn't a check the box kind of guy, right? So I said, I got to pay that forward, right? So the detective thing was my first goal. That's what I wanted to do. I checked that off the list. It didn't work for my home life. With 5 kids, I'm juggling that, and you know, I'm on call. I got to drive. I live up in Cecil County, so I'm driving about an hour and 20 minutes to interview people. I was like, this isn't going to work. So I left, and then I came into the schools. That was my second thing. So that was my MBA. I did my NFL. This is my MBA. I foresee myself retiring as an SRO in this position for the next 12 years. But when I got the spot, I told myself I'm going to create something, basically pay this forward. I came up with the Police Sports Club. Obviously, we don't have a building. We don't have the same layout as we did in New York. But the biggest thing that I have is time, right? And I've seen that, how important time that you spend with, you know, children and youth of our community, time it supersedes anything. I created the Police Sports Club. Basically, it is an innovative way to keep the same PAL concept. My day to day, I eat breakfast with kids basically every day. I'm in their recesses. I basically have like coordinated basketball practice or soccer practice during their recess period. So I mean, at this point, like my car pulls up, like, and you guys, any of you guys are more than welcome to do a ride along with me. You'll see it firsthand. It's something that I really can't explain, and I do it not for the glamour. Like I do it just because it's what I grew up on, you know, like, and I know it's that bridge, right? I've been on this side of the bridge, and I know what it takes to, you know, connect that piece. So, you know, I show up to the school, you see my car pull up, you know, the kids are running up, coach, like I said, they see me as coach. They don't even see me as Officer Custis. So that dynamic is completely like changed in my cluster. But like I said, I run their recesses. I have tournaments for them where I kind of put them in like a March Madness type thing where they get to compete against each other. Elementary schools, middle schools. I have a couple summer league things coming up. I had 2 tournaments this year. The high school kids, I'm there basically every day during their lunch period, and it's keeping them, the students at Paint Branch, it's keeping them from going out to the Popeyes where a lot of calls for service would happen, robberies, fights, assaults. And the 3rd District crime analyst actually pulled the crime report. So from when I initiated and started the police sports club in Q1 of 2024 up until Q1 2025, the call volume went down 43%. So crime reduction went down 43%.
Wow.
And it's more so, you know, I look at the PSC as a community program. So it's not a program where, you know, it's a police oversight type thing. This is one of those things where parents are engaged. I'm hand in hand with MCPS administration. Students, they're liable, they're accountable, they're held accountable. Grades, behavior, all of these things, you know, the administrators basically select the kids that get to play into the tournament based on merit, grades, behavior, attendance, all of that stuff. So that alleviates the youth that they behave when they're in their season of their sport, right? And then once that season is done, training wheels are off, and you know there's really no what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Incentive to do right? So with the PSC, I'm consistent. It's basically every month tournament. I'm working on like, you know, getting some funding and stuff to get like reward books and prizes and stuff for the kids. So it basically gives them that additional, and so even if it's a pizza party, right? Like I got selected to the tournament, my team won, you know, you'll get a medal, and then, you know, on to the next tournament. So that gives them something to strive for. And the kids that don't get selected by the administration to play in the tournament, they still get a chance because the tournament's next month. So the administration sits them down. Hey, the reason you weren't selected is because remember you got into those 2 fights in class. Can't do that. So if you show some improvement, we might consider you for the tournament, right? So it basically gives that kid, you know, hope. It gives them an outlet. It gives them a chance because some kids can't afford to play, you know, Pop Warner football and travel baseball, travel soccer. Like I was one of those kids. I couldn't afford to do it. So my mom, you know, she had to work 2 jobs, and you know, like I said, it's government stuff. So it wasn't a thing for me. So I just had to, you know, figure out a way to stay active, and that was it at the PAL. So I give that same opportunity to the kids in Silver Spring. You know, if they need transportation to get to the venue, I'll pick them up in my cruiser, bring them there. They enjoy riding in the cruiser, right? So it gives them a whole nother perspective at a younger age. So as they get older, their first interaction with me as a law enforcement officer representative isn't whatever it is at that time as what I was brought up with. You know what I mean? So like I said, it's the police sports club. I take a lot of pride in it. I try to keep it as authentic as possible because, like, I was told, you know, we had a PAL program in Montgomery County before, and it went away due to the budget, things like that. But I always fight back and I say, like, it's not about the money, because if your heart is in it and you mean well and you give that time, like most of us probably are parents in here. You know, you can be the richest parent in the world. If you just buy your kid stuff, that the kid probably just wants a picnic. That's time. You know what I mean? So I'm a big proponent on time. So during my workday, you know, I wear a lot of hats. You know, I run calls for service, you know, which kind of is a thing where it's like, I wish I had a little bit more time where I could kind of devote the time specifically there and not have to worry about leaving or being held on another call when I got in you know, a lunch brunch with a group of kids and I can't make it. Now I call them, hey, I'm not going to make it. And that sets up that disappointment. So like, that's one of those things that I'm kind of navigating through. And you know, it's a thing. But that's still no excuse. You know, I'm here, I'm fully in it. I also volunteer to coach at Paint Branch High School for the football team. I'm a vice president in the football organization up where I live, Cecil County Wolfpack. I'm a non-U head coach. I coach my son's t-ball team. I coach his flag team. My daughters play football, flag football. So my day-to-day is sports, right? So I take this and I do this as I would want my kids' SROs to do, if that makes sense. So in a nutshell, the PSC is, you know, all hands on deck. You know, it's a village. It takes a village. You know, I have cards for the kids that are in, like, basically in the program for about 2 years or more. The cards are basically set up to alleviate any interactions that they might have with law enforcement outside of school, especially like on the weekend, right? So it gives, basically on the card, we'll have like an identifier for the student, have their name, their school, and they say like PSC basketball or PSC soccer, whatever sport they play. And then also on that card will be a contact for me. So any patrol officer that has a run-in with a juvenile, they can, you know, basically give the card. That patrol officer can give me a call. Hey, I ran into such and such. He was with someone, or whatever the case may be, positive or negative, right? I get that information and I basically will relay that to the principal, to the parents, to the guidance counselor. So it basically fills that void of communication that, you know, coming from New York, I've seen that in Montgomery County, there's a lot of entities that operate, you know, on different wavelengths to accomplish the same thing, to help youth. But there's, you know, some kids that they're not afforded that communication line, right? So there's a barrier, and it's not to anyone's fault. It's just the way it is. So basically stepping in, you know, I can give somebody a call, the principal a call. Hey, Johnny was at the mall. He was hanging out with Jimmy, right? And mom probably told Johnny not to hang out with Jimmy. So mom doesn't know. Now I'm going to call. And that's basically the way, you know, my neighborhood grew up. You know, you had, you know, Miss Willis in her window and she watches you and you're cursing. And then you get home and it's like, why were you cursing? And it's like, how did you know? You know, so it's that whole village that we kind of went away from as a society. Basically, I'm just bringing that all back and just staying consistent with it, and you know, working with the resources I have, and yeah, day by day. So that's this.
So it sounds like that, first of all, you are allowing these youth to feel seen, because I notice in my work with you, they want to be seen. Well, even adults want to be seen, want to be recognized, right? So it sounds like you have that going along with this system that says, okay, I may not see you, but now since we have this card, there's a sense of accountability because, oh man, Officer Custis is going to find this out. And obviously, like mom told me not to hang out with Willie, Officer Custis is going to find this out. Now mom going to know I was hanging with Willie. So that creates, to me, a sense of accountability. So that's great. Let me ask you, because I heard you mention April, and I'm assuming you said April 2024. So since April 2024, what did you start with as far as your program and children and the number of participants to what you had now, June 2025?
So I started out with 20 kids. My first 20 was at Page Elementary School. And as of today, I'm about 650 kids in. So it's grown, and that's just in the East County area. Like it hasn't even reached Up County or like Mid County. That's just in Silver Spring, and that's spread out across 14 schools. Paint Branch is the high school and all of the feeder schools that go in. yeah, and it's, it's grown a lot. The kids look forward to it. Parents are very supportive. The administration for MCPS is very supportive, like extremely supportive. And they're actually going to, help me create like a advisory board to kind of help me with the day-to-day stuff and support. So it's really been a blessing to be able to.
Will that include a website or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep. Yeah.
We have a member from the public with a question.
Yes.
Since you're live.
Well, thank you for that service. One of the problems we have in the different counties is finding volunteers to coach Little League sports. My question is, do you find it beneficial to be in uniform doing all of this, all of the games and the charity work, so that the youth can psychologically see, okay, this is an officer that's helping us out, because that could be beneficial to other officers?
Yeah, so basically, like, I'm there, like, I see these kids almost every day, right? Like, I'll pop into school, get the food, breakfast, sit down, play Legos. Like, they see me at such a consistent rate that it really wouldn't even matter. Like, the uniform doesn't exist at this point with most of the kids, because I'm there so frequently. The whole dynamic of like seeing a police and it's like in the school and it's like, why is the police here? Like it would be like, if I promise you guys are more than welcome to come on and ride along and see it for yourself. And I say that humbly, I take a lot of pride in it though. But yeah, so like the way I formatted everything is to where I'm not solely reliant on people to volunteer, because again, that's something, like I said, I take very, very much pride in it. And I don't want, and that goes for officers, that goes for anyone, right? I don't want anyone to, bring negative energy or anything not true to the heart to the program, because like I'm attached to that, you know what I mean? And the kids expect a certain level of time and attention and conversation and relatability. So I kind of structured everything to where it's okay, like it's part of my work day. And then like the after school events, if I change out of this or if I stay in this, it wouldn't even matter. It's the same thing, because tomorrow when we go to school, they're going to see me like this. So you know what I mean? So it's really not like I'm wearing a costume to wear. It's just one of those like, hey, Officer Custis looks like me. He's in this area. And that's with not even, our African-American kids. That's Hispanic kids. That's Asian kids. I just showed Chair Walker a photo from the Greencastle Elementary yearbook. And I took pictures with the kids, like as the PSC group. And we got Asian kids, you got Spanish kids, boys, girls. Like it's about 27 kids just for basketball at that one school. So, yeah, it's really one of those things where it's natural. It's not even.
Thank you for that. And then we're gonna come back to the room live, but we do have a board member Manning's hand up. Is that your hand, actually? Please, and then we'll come back live to Chuck, please.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Officer Custis. This is just so inspiring, and I'm amazed at all you're doing. I almost feel a little bad asking you a question, because mostly I just feel like I want you to like go home and go to bed, because holy mackerel, how are you getting all this done? But what I do want to ask is just your opinion on this program, the SRO program. Are you doing this by yourself? Like, are you the only school resource officer for the Paint Branch group? You're the only one?
Yep. So the way the CEO model is for us, it's basically I'm assigned to Paint Branch as my primary school. And then I'm responsible for the middle schools and elementary schools that feed into Paint Branch. So that's a total of 8 or 9 schools. So I'm not basically like stationed at one school, based on the CEO model. The SRO model is a little traditional where you're in the school, but at Paint Branch, like I have an office in the school, like I'm in the school. Like, so it's kind of like I said, they're extremely supportive. And it's, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot. And I'm just wondering, is it, do you feel like there's a benefit to having that where you're kind of bouncing around from school to school? And, I'm just thinking from a policy perspective, is it better to have somebody stationed in one school, or is it better, I definitely think there need to be more resources. Is it better to have that kind of somebody assigned to the cluster and then maybe trying to fold in more support beyond that? I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think, I think it would benefit not for me. It would benefit, the county, the kids, if we were to have, designated officers like myself. There's a couple of other officers that have things going on. Like one of my colleagues has something going on at Seneca Valley High School, where he has like a mentor group, things like that. Like a lot of us, really devote our time to it and don't look at it from the lens of, doing like the reward comes on the back end when the kids graduate high school and then they come back to you and say, hey, Officer Custis, I got accepted into Yale and I'm about to start a business, right? Like that's the story that I gave my SRO. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Officer, like I made it, I'm here. When I took narcotics, he was like jumping for joy. When I got this SRO position, he started crying. So it was like that right there, like there's no price on that. And then at the same token, I get to see my kids grow up and it's teaching me how to parent. And, there's no rule book to parenting. There's no rule book to this type of community engagement because you can't just go and check boxes, especially in certain communities. You can't just go check boxes. People will see right through it no matter where you are. And especially in a diverse county like this, a lot of people will know, like, if, you're just here to just check a box or if you're actually really here, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I definitely think, it would be very beneficial if we were able to get, a small group of designated officers to just kind of, be a hybrid, to still help out with the school stuff, but at the same time, allocate a little bit more time to, actual relationship building and, longevity of relationships with the students. So.
Thank you. Just one more question, Chair, if you don't mind. Thank you. Are the CEOs for the different clusters, do you all communicate with each other and share ideas?
So I would say yes and no, because there's different dynamics in different schools. Some schools don't want their CEO in the school. Some schools want their CEO in the school, and the CEO doesn't want to go in the school. So it's kind of like different. Really, I can only speak for Silver Spring in my cluster. I work with a group of 3 women, and they all have great relationships with their schools. They have their own programs. They have like girl leadership programs and things like that they're doing. My program is just a little bit on a bigger scale because I have a lot more students. And yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Like sometimes we'll bounce ideas off each other. But yeah, Officer Ted Daly is up at Seneca Valley doing his mentorship program. So sometimes, he worked down county, he grew up down county, so he knows people that he can kind of connect me with and stuff like that. So we do bounce ideas. But for the most part, like we all try to serve the dynamic that we're in, school specific, if that makes sense.
Great question. And I want to comment on that a little later after Chuck's question in reference to the name he just mentioned and to that great question that about collaboration from you, Board Member Manning. Great question. Chuck?
I had 2 questions and Kate asked them both, so thank you.
All right. I think I said Board Member Wright. Did I see your hand raised?
Yes, Chair. So first of all, I want to congratulate you, sir. This is what I would call God's work, being able to not only occur to interact with some of our kids, some of them not being who they should be, but also understanding their different languages of communication to be able to, find alternative ways for them to connect. So just a quick story. A friend of mine was an SRO at Springbrook.
Don't forget to speed the story up a little bit for time.
Yeah, I'm gonna speed it up real quick.
All right, Reverend.
Not only was he well loved, but they had him as their commencement speaker. I think it was 2 years in a row. So he was outstanding and friend of mine. But I do want to ask you, have you seen any measurable reduction in incidents within the schools you serve or when the programs serve as a result of your so-called PAL relationships? in sports with the students?
Yes, I have. I actually, again, in most of the, the stuff that happens outside of school, the crime report showed, because especially with the high school kids, they leave for lunch. So sometimes they'll leave, come back. Last year, like before the program, like they would come back to school fighting, or they would leave and go out and fight. Banneker Middle School had a ton of calls for service last year for fights and stuff like that. But kind of cut that down by almost half for actual 911 calls for service, and administration suspend. I can't really speak on like MCPS suspension rate, but from what I know, the students that are PSC kids, they're held to a little bit of a higher standard, and they've been living up to that standard. So I'm confident in saying like it's made a huge impact, and I have the utmost respect for all of the administrations in my cluster, Ms. Brown, Dr. Fuller, Mr. Hamilton, like I can go down forever. Dr. Robinson at Payne, like they're really, really behind me with this. They contact the parents, introduce me to the parents. I talk to the parents. I have a relationship with some of the parents. So it's like if something's going on in the neighborhood, they feel comfortable telling me. I can pass that on and relay a message to the appropriate people. So it's things like that it's all part of the job. So, but yes, to answer your question, school incidents have definitely went down from what I've seen. It's something as small as, there's a kid at Fairland Elementary, and she was like a menace. Like she would go in and she's like slamming desks and all that. Young girl, and she wanted to play basketball, right? She never played basketball, but she plays at recess, but she never had the outlet to play anywhere else, competitively, nothing like that. So I got her into PSC, and now it's like the guidance counselors and the principals, like as soon as they think she's gonna act up, and I'm like, I'm gonna call Officer Custis. She's like, no, all right. You know what I mean? So little things like that, you know what I mean? It's like, and it tells the kids that we're all in communication. So just because you're fighting in school doesn't mean that you can go to the rec center and they won't know that you were fighting in school, right? And you were in school suspension. Like that's the disconnect that I've seen when I came down here. It's like kids would be like, oh, I'm in school suspension. I don't care. I'm going to go to the rec at the end of the day, right? And then they go to the rec. The rec has no idea that they were just in school suspension. So basically they just for recess, right? So basically I come in and it's like, nope, she was fighting in the school. There's an email. I send it over to the rec center. Rec center, they were fighting at the rec. I'll let the principal know. So that pizza party you thought you were going to have tomorrow, try again. So it kind of, that's where everything kind of comes together.
Excellent. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Officer Custis. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your work. Thank you again for coming tonight. I know you had a long day, and as board member Manning, she's like our mom on the board. She keeps us being nice to everybody. So I know your day is long. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Great. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I'll leave some flyers here.
Please.
So if you guys want
As he's preparing that, one of the things you've heard him mention Officer, what's Daly's last name?
Ted Daly.
Officer Ted Daly up at Seneca Valley High School. We actually have him coming. We actually have him coming as a guest as well to the board. So one of the things I really want the board to focus on with all the other things that we have this year is that we, in reference to our annual report, get with Officer Custis and get as much information as we can to help us with a, I guess you would call it, not an Alpine, but was, I'm drawing a blank because hunger is taking over. But anyway, in our report that shows that, the work that Officer Custis and Officer Ted Daly are doing as far as in community engagement, which will give us the ability in our research and analysis like this to find others who may have been under the radar, right? Because sometimes there is a disconnect on an island where one person had a food program in Rockville, and we were in the same facility, not knowing that each of us were there addressing food insecurity until one day I just walked around and introduced myself to everybody. So sometimes we need that. So I would like for the board to focus on not only with the analysis that we're finding on, this issue or that issue, but I think we need to have a community engagement section in this year's report to show that I call it my counter measurement, if you will, report or analysis within our annual report. So it's good. Thank you. We're going to hear some more, and we can do some research because there is a lot of good work out there, and this is awesome to have youth who are known for throwing desks or flipping desks here. Oh, I'm going to tell Officer Custis, and now they stop and they're getting better productive. From 25 students, April 2024 to 650 is very impressive. So again, thank you. Thank you, Denise. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. And you're gonna hear from our staff, reaching out to you, see what we can do next.
Absolutely, yes.
And get this information because I think it's good for the public to know that there is an active community engagement officer and section of MCPD out there in East County. And there is, and we'll meet one up here in Gaithersburg. I don't want to do, but Gaithersburg at the Seneca Valley High School. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Captain.
Appreciate
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Outstanding. All right. Thank him for coming again. Good stuff. Good stuff. Very impressive.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, anything, thank you. Get some rest.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Stay
Next
safe.
action item, as we move along, unless there's any last words on that. No. Next action item, old business. Old business. Who's taking? All right.
I'll just a question, if I may, on the status of the data case management system. Can you share anything about that?
No significant changes. We're still in discussions with TEBS about security requirements, and going through the procurement process for a lot of approvals in order to actually place the order. So it won't be happening in fiscal year 25, even if that is coming to a close. So it'll be under fiscal year 26.
Thank you.
I thought there was one more item, piece of old business. There is. I see you, Member Hudson, your hand. You please, board recognize.
Yes, has the letter been approved by the board members regarding the submission of the ACC decisions to the PAB?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. So I think has everyone had a chance to see the final draft with the changes that we made in reference to phrases or words? I know I sent an approval.
Yep.
Everyone did. So let this be, thank you, Board Member Hudson, for bringing it up. So we can let this, I guess since it was all answered or asked and answered by email, Mr. Parliamentary, do we need to affirm that with a motion or?
Confirm, no, I don't think so. Just confirm that that's the course of action that we're taking.
Okay, so the course of action for the board is that we are approving that final drafted letter with the edits that were made and to the ACC. So we all agree, we're in agreement. So Forrest, that's we're in agreement for the letter to go out.
All right, great. We'll get that updated with a publication date. It is from the board, but as you've seen in final formatting, as with other boards or other letters that the board has issued, it's going out on the chair's signature. Just mentioning that because if we're gonna use someone's signature, we're gonna tell them.
Right.
So that should go up.
I appreciate that. All right, thank you. All right. Is there any other old business before we move on to new business? Don't want to miss anything. I know we've been working on a lot. None heard? Chair? None heard? All right. Next action item is new business. I would like to reiterate, as far as the new business, I really want the board to take an active dive into the community engagement officer, especially starting at East County. Once we hear from Seneca Valley Area Officer Ted Daly, to do our research and analysis of, and because as you heard, Officer Custis has statistics. And I think are very impressive that quarter one in 2024 to quarter two in 2025, 43% reduction in CFS. I think that's impressive for us to be able to research that number and check those numbers and have that as a part of our annual report, that there is a balance. Not only, are we talking about, recommendations because of misconduct or complaints from our citizens, but the PAD does recognize, good positive work as well. And we want to be, if we can, a method that helps, that get out to the public as we are helping, recommendations for misconduct get out to the public. I think this is a good step too for this year to do that. Board Member Alicia, were you about to say something? No, okay. I want to make sure I didn't miss you. And I really want us to pick that up. So the 17th is the next meeting.
Correct.
And I believe Officer Daly, and let me say this, he works with one of the teachers out at that high school, and Miss Madison, Ms. Madison, who is one of the educators there, and they together has formed, it's called Rising Stars. And it's another wonderful program. I will not try to preach their thing, except just the introduction of it. But I've actually been to the meetings there at the school, and the draw that it has, and the way the those young children, those young teenagers respond to Miss Addison and Officer Daly is it's moving. It's moving, and it needs to be heard. It needs to be seen. It needs to be looked into and confirmed on those numbers. So we'll be hearing from that. I think from what what he's communicated to me, I'm sure he's communicated to the staff that they both have accepted the invitation on the 17th. So I think it's a good idea to do that. That's what I have for new business. If anybody want to join me on, kind of writing up a what is it, OPED? What do they do when people write I just drew a blank on it again. When you write come on, guys.
Okay.
Post-it note?
Huh?
Post-it note?
What would you say, board member?
Op-ed?
There you go. That's what I'm looking
One
for.
more time, what?
Like in the editorial, like an opinion editorial?
Yeah, right, an opinion.
Op-ed?
Yeah, an op-ed. Right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, what is this word? I'm trying to figure it out. But to write and have something like that in our report, sharing some of the facts that we found out from these CEOs, and even with what we did, finding out from the children themselves and these these employees of the schools who can probably witness, because again, this educator there at the Seneca Valley High School, hearing her testimony of how she's impacting the children is impressive.
We could include a couple of photos. I mean, I know statistics will say something, and I'm going to pursue it along. I'm going to ride along because it's just nice to see people, at their best sometimes on this, instead of accounting the county citizens, at their worst times. And already thinking about privacy waivers we might need to get for photos, but a couple of pictures, included with that blurb and statements.
Outstanding. I think we can put it together, but all we do is ask.
Right.
But a picture does say 1,000 words sometimes. So, And yes, I like that idea. And they have some events coming up. Um, I didn't have a chance to share the event we were just at, but that was a wonderful event. They have some events coming up. And I would encourage you all to call MCPD. I forgot the exact contact name that's in my phone of who you would call for ride-along. There's a specific contact person for ride-alongs, but he's in East County, so I don't know if it's the same person or not, but it's easy to find out.
For this one, I would just contact Officer Custis. He's got his Custis. He's got his-
Custis, yeah,
Yes.
we can contact him, but because of legal purposes and things have to be signed, he's probably going to direct us back to that commanding officer or sergeant, if not officer, who handles, because remember, we are still civilians signing the waiver to make sure that we understand what we're going on and ride. So even though we can't reach out, but at least we know there. And maybe Forrest, if you can in East County, because I think that's three. I think that's three. If I'm not correct, District 3.
And we can re-provide the ride-along contact information.
Okay. To that. I see. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think that this program is Officer Custis's program is very, very, very important. And I wonder if we can, as part of our, if the executive directors or administrative office can help us with the research regarding the success of these types of programs across the nation, and if we could possibly have training for other municipalities, because I understand that he's working with MCPS, but I don't know if there are other municipalities are also implementing these methods and strategies like Tacoma Park, Chevy Chase, Gaithersburg, Rockville. I would wonder, can we find out that information?
No, we can find it out now. What I've been doing and starting this is I've already had a sit down with the chief of Tacoma Park, Tony Duvall. And if I did not forward that information to you, I apologize. And I don't think I did, because I can tell by the look in your eye that I didn't. I'm going to forward it. But they have a community engagement program as well. I haven't had a chance because I was waiting for the confirmation and affirmation of Chief West for Rockville. Now that we understand that it's official, I'll reach out to him for community engagement and what he's doing. And that way, these are avenues that we can reach and down and get this type of information, pull it together in our PED on our 25 annual report this year. And hopefully that will create some type of network with all of these different entities doing the same thing within this county to connect. And now instead of many, they become one, and we can be more impactful with changing the direction of our youth and even young adults. Because basically what we're trying to do is reduce crime as well as partnering with these agencies to reduce misconduct. Because now there's no reason for you to act inappropriately as an officer and when you're encountering youth in underserved, underprivileged communities, because that's what we're talking about, and we can't be afraid to announce that because that's the truth. Period. I'm sorry, and you finished, member Elisa?
No, that's it. Thank you. That's it.
Member Manning?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, it seems to me worthwhile to include as a recommendation that there be more support for the CEO program, and also that they talk to each other, that there be some sort of collaboration. It's not I don't think this poor man has time to do any kind of talking to anybody else. It sounds like he is running as fast as he can right now. But I think that if there were a little bit more support for the program, including some sort of way for them to be talking to each other, because my kids are at BCC. I don't think there's any kind of program like that in the BCC cluster. And I take his point that the different clusters have different issues and everybody is kind of focusing on their region, but it does seem to me that it would be worthwhile as the PAB to make that recommendation that they find ways to collaborate with each other and talk about what's working across the county.
I agree. And that's really what I think fits into the board's mandate is to build Montgomery County by through what we provide our citizens, which include both sworn and non-sworn citizens. I mean, it's as simple as that. I agree. Forrest, while we were talking, I sent over the email from the Tacoma Park City Police. I sent that over. All right. Are there any other statements or anything on that? Okay, any other new business? I don't want to miss anything. None heard. We move over to the next action item. Which is a motion we have to make first. But before we make that motion to go into closed session, yeah, one more. Yes, so just introduce yourself, sir.
Jeff York, I'm here with the Montgomery County Fire Rescue, representing Fire Chief Corey Smedley.
Outstanding. And your name again?
Jeff York.
Jeff York. I know you, Jeff, but I need to everybody. I want to know. Say, well, why does the fire department have representative? Because the PAB, the fire department investigative department of fire and
Explosive.
thank you, explosive. I call them devices, but explosives falls under the mandate of the PAB, which is why he's here. So all kudos to Chief
York.
For sending you here. Thank you, sir, for showing up tonight. We appreciate you. Action item number 10 is a motion to close this session, to go into close this meeting, to go into a closed session. The board must move to vote to close session to review a trial board member applications pursuant to Maryland Code General Provisions Article 3-350 Bravo 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and to.
We don't have Part B tonight, as a reminder.
Okay, we don't have Part B. Thank you. I was reading here because I'm covering myself. So that is the reason to make a motion to close this session. Is there a motion?
I move we go to closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, closing?
Aye.
On the closed session, aye. And the ayes have it. Recording is stopped. Thank you again,